Hey, my friend, this is Coach Jason with Win Your Days. So glad you're here. Win Your Days is all about men rising up to win in life, love, and business so that you can do what you love with people you love and have the kingdom impact you desire. Now, today, I'm going to talk to you about the importance of having determination, of being resilient as a man. Grab a notebook, something to write with. Let's get going. All right, here we go. Determination matters. Your resiliency as a man matters. Let me ask you this. When you woke up this morning, did you say, you know what, today my goal in life is just to be average? No, you didn't say that. Today, I just want to be an average husband, an average father, an average disciple. I want to be average with my finances and my business. No, we don't say that. Would you rather be known as a man of excellence or a man of mediocrity? And of course, rhetorical question, right? We want to be known as men of excellence. And to do that, to have that, to be known for that, determination and resiliency, they matter in your life. Those are two qualities that you have to develop as a man to live an excellent life: determination and resiliency. I want to bring up, I don't know how much you have been in the Bible, read the Bible, heard stories in the Bible, but there's a character in the Old Testament, a man named King David. He was Israel's first great king. King David did lots of incredible things, and he was known for a man after God's own heart. Yet, he committed adultery. He committed murder. Yet he's known for a man after God's own heart. He's known as a great king. Resiliency, part of the definition of resiliency, is being able to bounce back from setbacks and failures and become the person you're capable of becoming. And that was the difference in King David's life. He repented. He made it right. He got right. And he was determined to be a great king, to serve the people well, to serve God well. Fast forward, New Testament, the Apostle Paul. If you know anything about the Apostle Paul, would you consider the Apostle Paul a great man, a man of excellence? You would. Here's a guy who wrote 2/3 of the New Testament, underwent beatings, imprisonments, shipwreck, left out to sea a day and a night, survived, all of these things. He was determined, he was resilient, yet early on in his life, he was the one who persecuted Christians, split families apart, put people in prison. But he's known for a man of excellence. Why? Because he was determined, resilient. He set the record straight. He turned his life around. And no matter where you are, no matter what's going on in your life, no matter what you faced, failures and setbacks and obstacles, I'm telling you, you can be a man of excellence. You got to work on your determination and your resiliency. Be determined, right? What's the goal? What's the dream? What's the vision for your life? That's where it all starts. And then have this unwavering determination to reach it. And here's where men fall short, take a right turn, get off course, is that they start out with some determination and their dream isn't happening, their goal isn't happening. I had a coach tell me, Bo Eason, Bo said, Jason, your dream will always seem like it's not going to happen until it does. You keep chipping away, you keep chipping away, you keep knocking at the door, you keep seeking, you keep asking. And it seems like the dream's not going to happen, but as you stay determined, as you stay persistent, as you stay resilient, all of a sudden the dream happens. People say, oh, that's an overnight success. No, they don't see the 10 years, the 20 years it took to get there, the resiliency and the determination. And the thing is, to develop determination, you have to go through tough times. You have to go through hard times in order to develop your resilience. You wouldn't need resilience if obstacles weren't there. We need the obstacles. We have to embrace the obstacles and plow through them in order to develop the resilience we need. So let me share with you my dream, little snippet out of my life. I had this dream of becoming a speaker. I wanted to impact and influence masses of people from the stage. Well, in order to do that, you got to become a speaker, right? That's worth listening to. And so the only person, I've been told that if you want to start something, become good at something, find somebody who's already doing it that you can connect with so that they could show you the ropes. And that compresses timelines. It kind of fast forwards the success route, right? So the only person I knew of that was speaking at the time and was really successful at it was a guy that lived out in Oklahoma, older in life now, retired karate and kickboxing champion. And this guy would do karate demonstrations, kickboxing demonstrations in front of the crowds and tie the lessons into the message. It's visual, it's engaging, so it made it super memorable. And he said, come on out to Oklahoma. I'll train you and teach you how to do this. I'll mentor you and help you get going. So that's what we did. I was married and had my third child was just born. So we had 3 kids in 3 years. So they're all young. We moved across the country, didn't know anybody except this guy. And as soon as we get there, I start training. I mean, several hours a day, 6 days a week, I'm training. I'm working on messages. I'm working on karate demonstrations, learning how to break boards and concrete. And finally, after several months, I get my first speaking engagement. Now, what happened was because I was training so much, I didn't have a job. And we went through our money. So I was now on food stamps, clinging, like I'm determined to live the dream, to reach the goal of becoming a speaker so that I can impact lives from stage. And this church calls me and says, hey, we hear you're out trying to get going as a speaker. We know you're doing karate demonstrations. We're doing a community outreach. Would you come and share and do a karate demonstration? I'm like, yeah, I'm all, yeah. I didn't even ask. Like, well, how much is in your budget? I didn't know to ask that. So they asked me, what are your speaking fees? And I never thought about that. So I just said, well, just pay me whatever's on your heart. Well, the day comes and I go to Home Depot and I bought all the supplies, the concrete, the wood, all the stuff. And all of it amounted to $70. I didn't have $70. So I put it on my Discover card, went, set everything up, and going through the karate. Everything's going great. The audience is tuned in. They're leaned in. And then I'm going to break some concrete, which I had never done before in front of an audience. Actually, I never even I tried to practice it, but mentally I couldn't bring myself to smash my hand into blocks of concrete. So I saved it to the day of, and I just thought, here's my thinking. I thought, well, my adrenaline will be so high and I'll have it set up in front of the audience that I can't back down. I got to do it. And so that's what I did. And guess what? I did this hammer fist break, or attempted it, and I smashed through the concrete, and it was surprisingly easy. So easy that I left my hand there, and the 2 towers, the 2 cinder block towers that all the concrete was set up on, they caved in and collapsed on my hand. And it sliced my thumb open, right between my thumb and my forefinger. It gashed it. Now I got blood coming out. It was so painful. And my hand started shaking. Like, if you ever hit yourself with a hammer or something and it's so painful that you start to shake. And that's my microphone hand. I'm right-handed. So I couldn't grab the mic with this hand. It was shaking too much. So I tuck it behind me, grab the mic with my left hand. I have no idea what I shared that day because it was so painful. And I remember everything was over. The crowd was leaving. And I packed up my stuff and I'm walking out. And the guy who had me come in said, wait a minute, don't forget this. And he held up this white envelope with my very first paycheck ever for speaking. My wife, And the kids are in the car, they're waiting on me. I promised them that when this is over, I'm taking you to go get some ice cream. We're going to celebrate this moment as a family. Like Dad's dream is coming true. I grabbed the envelope, thanked him, walked in the car, was sitting in my front seat behind the steering wheel. And I said, kids, this is what Dad's been waiting for. And I opened up the envelope. $50. $50. Not even enough to pay for all the supplies. Remember, that was $70 that I put on the charge card. And I said, kids, my gosh, now I gotta buy Band-Aids and bandages for my hand, get fixed up. Kids, I gotta pay for the supplies. We've got no money for ice cream. We went home and I was a little bit defeated, but determined. Resiliency. Remember, being resilient is the ability to bounce back from setbacks and failures. And I had to keep going if the dream was going to happen. So I kept training several hours a day, 6 days a week. And then the phone rings again. And this time it's a prison chaplain in Texas. And he ran a youth facility, young men who were locked up between the ages of 13 and 18. And he said, hey, these guys have made poor choices, but I believe in them, Jason. And I believe you can come and make a difference and speak hope and let them know that they still have a future. And so he said, would you come and do a karate demonstration? And I said, yes, sir, I'd love to, but I don't want to break concrete. My hand still was it was jacked up. And so we agreed on a speaking fee. I drove, I don't know, 3.5 hours or something to get to, it was either McAllen, Texas or Bryan, Texas, something like that. And I get there and I have to go through, obviously you go through security, but it was like extra time because I have nunchucks. I planned on doing a double nunchuck routine and breaking some boards in front of the guys. Anyway, long story short, I get there. I'm in front of 200 inmates between the ages of 13 and 18. The guy introduces me. I hit play on my recorder. I had this song and a choreographed double nunchuck routine, and I'm going, and the guy's eyes they're huge. These guys are looking because they hear, like these were legit solid wood nunchucks. And so you could hear the whipping sounds in the air as I'm going through this whole routine. Then all of a sudden, it was like lightning hit an oak tree right outside the window of where we were. Everything stopped. And I was looking at the guys and they're looking back at me. And all of a sudden, the guys, the inmates, they started getting real blurry. And all of a sudden, I realized I had just nunchucked myself in the forehead. That's what the crack was. I had about knocked myself out in front of the 200 inmates. It was like something out of a Tom and Jerry cartoon. I had this lump forming on my forehead coming out. And they're just staring at me. And I put the nunchucks down, shut the music off, and I started speaking. I have no idea what I said. I don't remember at all. The thing ended. The inmates are leaving, and the guy, the chaplain that had me come in, he puts his arm around me. He's feeling bad for me. He said, man, that was a rough night. And I said, yes, sir, it was. And he said, listen, Jason, I hate to give you news like this the day of all days after that. He said, but what came in this morning from our upper leadership was that to cut all budgets and expenses, because I guess they had just done their budget thing or whatever, and they had no money. The prison had no money. They had, they had a cut back on everything. And he said, Jason, I can't pay you what I agreed to pay you. Jason, I can't even give you gas money to get back to Oklahoma. Now we're on food stamps. This is my second speaking engagement. And it, again, failed. Not only, did I not get through the karate demonstration, but I didn't get back. I went in the hole again to get, pay for the materials and get gas back to Oklahoma. So I hop in the car and I'm just determined. I don't know. I'm just determined. I'm like, I can still do this. I could still do it. I don't know what I'm going to tell my wife. I'm not bringing any of it. We got to keep eating on the food stamps, whatever it takes. Resiliency, keep bouncing back, keep coming back. keep trying, keep putting yourself out there. And so 6 days a week, I'm training several hours a day. And finally, the phone rings again, my third speaking engagement. And this time it was in Charleston, West Virginia, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And the guy said, hey, we tried to get your mentor, but he's already booked. He recommended you. Here's what we got going on. It's our annual Night of Champions. We're going to have 600 teenagers in the gym. We want you to come in, present Jesus, the gospel, do your karate demonstration. I'm going to pay you $500 plus your meals, plus your travel. It was the biggest audience and the biggest paycheck. I mean, when you're on food stamps, $500 sounds pretty good. It did to me. I mean, it was 10 times more than what the first guy paid me, right? $50. So I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? The dream's happening. I get there, we go to Lowe's and we get all the karate stuff. And I think, all right, biggest audience, I got to do the biggest karate demonstration, not just one concrete break, right? But now I'm going to do 2 concrete breaks and all the, the nunchucks and the board and all the, I set it all up and I hit play on my music because everything's coordinated to music. And I go to do the hammer fist break. I already knew I can do that. I just needed to pull my hand out quicker so it doesn't get smashed in with the concrete, the towers. And I go and I line up and I get the crowd involved. We're counting down 1, 2, and on 3, I go to hit it and I hit those concrete blocks as hard as I could. And not even so much of a morsel of a crumb of concrete broke off the corner. Nothing. And so the teenagers are leaning in. They're going, was that supposed to happen? What? And I played it off like I meant to do that. I played it off like I'm just warming up. But in my mind, I'm like, holy cow, these blocks in West Virginia, they're different. They're dense. They were heavier. And I knew in my mind that I already hit them as hard as I could and didn't even budge them. But what am I going to do? There's 600 teenagers staring at me. So I was like, I got to hit them again. And my hand's already starting to swell. I'm like, I got to hit them again. And so I wind up, I get them riled up and I hit it as harder, but nothing. It didn't even rattle the concrete blocks. I was like, I felt like I broke my hand on it. I didn't, but it felt like that. Like I hit him as hard as I could. And so I'm like, I had to move on. And I went to a double forearm break. I got a stack of blocks over here, a stack of blocks over here, raised up my arms. Woo! I came down and hit those as hard as I could. And I'm telling you, they didn't even shake. It was like those concrete blocks laughed at me. Now the music died down and the crowd was silent. All of a sudden, this teenager way in the back yells out something from SpongeBob. So like, where did you get your belt? Where did you get your karate belt from? A SpongeBob cartoon? And the whole crowd started laughing. And I got heckled. And then I had to speak to him. Holy cow. So I spoke, I did the short message, like one kid raises his hand to commit his life to Christ. And the whole thing was a dud. It fell flat. I felt horrible. The guy who called me and set up the whole thing, my sponsor, the client, he was driving me to the airport and he holds up this white envelope with my paycheck in it. He doesn't say anything, but by his body language and the way he handed it over to me, he's like, I can tell he was thinking, I can't believe I'm paying you this to do that. What a waste. Gives me the check, drops me off at the airport in Charleston, West Virginia. I land in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I have a message on my phone, and it was from my mentor. And it just said, we need to meet now. My client in West Virginia already called him and told him what had happened. So I didn't even go home. I went to meet him. And he said this. He said, Jason, It's not going real well for you, is it? What was I going to say? Like, oh yeah, it's great. I smashed my hand in some concrete. The second time I about knocked myself out in front of inmates. And this time, yeah, the whole thing was just a big flop. I'm like, yeah, what do you want me to say? He goes, Jason, if you were to continue pursuing being a speaker, I think we would both be wasting our time. And so I looked at him and I said, well, you agreed to mentor me. Do you want to be released from that commitment? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I really think we'll be wasting our time. And just like that, it was over. He left, and I'm just sitting there in this chair going, what? I just moved my wife and kids out here 10 months ago. I've been training 6 hours a day, multiple, or not 6 days a week, multiple hours a day. And now we have nothing. And it was over. What are we going to do? And I couldn't even go back home to tell my wife. I was so embarrassed. I had shame. Have you ever felt like you can't pull it together? Like you're not the man capable of being all that you could be. And that's what happens. That's what can happen in a man's life. You begin to believe that you're not able to become the man you're capable of becoming. And then the enemy begins to whisper in your ear, you're not worthy. You're not able. You can't. Look at all the other men around you. They have their lives together, but you don't have yours together. You don't have what it takes as a man. You ever felt like that? And determination and resiliency are developed in those moments. Those are key moments in your life. Those are the moments that as men we need to embrace, because those are the moments that as we can bounce back from them and develop deeper character, deeper desire, determination, we'll be able to conquer anything that comes before us. Like nothing will get in your way, but we need those moments. You need those moments as a man. You need to face them, those challenges. And so I went back home to our little apartment and I told my wife what had happened. And she goes, that's okay. Let's just go back to Florida. Let's just go back to Florida and we'll continue the dream. And I've got this voice in my ear going, you don't measure up. You're not able, you're not capable, you're not worthy. My wife says, let's just go back to Florida and keep the dream alive. That's what we did. We packed up everything, moved back to Florida, we rented a house. I got a job with Domino's Pizza. Now, I'm a 4-year, I got a college degree, 4 years, married now, 3 kids, and I had nothing. I'm on food stamps and I'm delivering pizzas for Domino's. But I kept the dream alive. Not karate. I let that part go, but I kept developing the skills to speak. And when your persistence beats your resistance, you elevate your existence. And your persistence is all the determination and the resiliency put into play. Remember, it seems like your dream's not going to happen until it does. Stay with it. Most men quit too soon. Most entrepreneurs give up on the dream too soon. Don't you do that. I kept at it and developed a 14-year career in speaking that took me to multiple countries, all over the United States, just sharing my story and impacting and influencing lives. And the only reason why I stopped was because I founded Trinity Fitness, which is a whole nother story, a faith-based gym that started out of my garage. Within 10 years, we had 18 gyms across multiple countries, multiple states around the United States. And the resiliency that took was easy compared to the resiliency of starting my speaking career. But the resiliency and the determination that I was able to develop set the foundation to start Trinity Fitness and grow it to multiple locations across multiple states. We talk about impact and influence. It all comes from resiliency and determination as a man. Go win your day to day. And if you win your days, by default, you're going to win your life. To win your days, you need determination. You need resiliency. Embrace the obstacles, embrace the struggles, because that is how resiliency and determination is built. It is like adding weight to your bar on the bench press or squat rack. The only way to get stronger in the gym is to add weight to your bar. Every obstacle you face in life is just adding weight to your bar. Embrace that, love it, right? The lactic acid buildup, the burn, but now you're stronger. You're more resilient, you're more determined. And because of that, you're able to accomplish more than you could yesterday. Your potential, your capacity grows. And I'm going to tell you this, as a coach, I'm going to say this to you. You already have everything you need for life and godliness. It's already there. The scriptures tell us that. You just need to go out and live that, develop it. I'm cheering you on in the great game of life. Go win your day to day.